Tales from the wild. Stories from the heart. A journey into the mind and soul of fired-up business professionals where they share their vision for the future. And hear from a different non-profit organization every month as they create awareness of their goals and their needs. Dive into a world of untamed passion as we join our host, Shireen for this month's episode of Friends from Wild Places.
Welcome. Good day, Wild Hearts. Shireen here. I'm your bookkeeper and QuickBooks advisor. Or should I say more like podcast bookkeeper and QuickBooks advisor. Why do small businesses need to keep a set of books? Well, firstly, well-maintained books make it easier for small business owners to receive outside financing, as they are often the first and most important records required by loan providers and investors. Secondly, it also helps you budget for your business and prepare for tax returns. Don't estimate the importance not only to have a set of books, but for those books to be accurate. Call Shireen's bookkeeping services today and allow me to do your books so you can do life. If you want to know more about Shireen's bookkeeping services, go check me out at www.shireensbookkeeping.com and allow me to keep your books clean. All right, welcome back. You are listening to Friends from Wild Places. I am your host, Shireen Buerta, and I'd like to introduce you to my co-host for the day, Will Hinshaw. Will Hinshaw is an area manager of Sunrun in the Bay Area, California, United States. He is absolutely dominating the market there, and he is definitely giving PG&E a run for their money. If you don't know, PG&E is their electricity provider. Am I correct, Will?
You are correct. They're the evil empire out here because we get charged incredibly high electrical rates, and we don't like the few power outages we have a year. But talking to you, it actually doesn't sound like we have it that bad in terms of our power grid.
Right. We are having a couple of struggles here in South Africa when it comes to power, and it's only going to get worse, unfortunately. We're actually on stage 5. So that means my lights go out for 4 hours in a 24-hour span.
Wow. What's stage 6?
Ryan, normally it'll hit in the most awkward of times, like my times when I'm working and having meetings. And so it's a little bit frustrating.
Do you have a generator or a battery that you use?
It's a lot of money here. And this is my observation and personal perspective. So what I've noticed is they have made it extremely expensive to move away from electricity here in South Africa. So for me to go off the grid, to get solar panels, to get a generator, to do all that, it costs quite a lot of rand. And it's hard to explain rand to dollar, but it's for a third world country, it's a lot. And so I feel bad. Yeah, I feel bad because even for us, and we're decent, we're in the mid section of earnings when it comes to tax brackets, but even my family is struggling to be able to get a generator and to get solar panels and to go off the grid. And yeah, that's the plan. So we're working on it. But yeah.
Without the government incentives, solar is significantly harder to make sense of. So, I feel for you guys.
Right. Well, I like to get to know, everyone's situation all over the world. It just kind of opens our eyes a little bit that we're not the only one that's struggling. There are people that are struggling everywhere, all over the world, with maybe similar issues or issues that are way worse. but it's never always greener on the other side, or more like we should just really respect where everyone's coming from and where everyone lives. And yeah, so on saying that, last week, we spoke a little bit about gun violence and our opinion on people owning guns. If you did not listen to that episode and you would like to, that's just the previous one. So you can go and listen to that one. But we just spoke a little bit about that. And quite recently, there was a school shooting in Texas where a 28-year-old transgender female walked into a Christian elementary school and killed 6 people, 3 teachers and 3 children. Apparently, the shooter used to go to the same school. So, my question, what should be done to avoid this kind of thing in the future? And you are more than welcome to share your opinions on, people owning guns and gun violence as well. So, go ahead.
Oh man, where do I start? I'll try to keep it short-ish, but one thing I'll say is the fact that this person is transgendered has no bearing on the aspect of gun violence, and it's just become kind of a political hot button in America, to the point where people can't talk about it in some states. You can't even say the word transgender without being punished in Florida in school. It's mind-boggling to me, but that's a whole other issue.
Yeah.
The grand majority of shootings are done by white males who are identifying as cisgender, meaning they identify as male at birth, and I'm pretty sure it means they also are heterosexual. But the issue with gun violence in America is not just legal, it's cultural. You look at Australia had, I think it was in the late 80s or early 90s, this really devastating shooting, and the country came together and gave up their guns to the government. There was a big government buyback of guns, but a huge part of this was the citizens being willing to give up their guns and recognizing that there's the potential for serious violence if everyone has access to guns. So, Australia still, guns are legal, but you need to have a good reason to have a gun. You need to be trained and you need to be licensed.
I agree.
So, if you're living in a suburb in Sydney and you work at a local bank, chances are you don't have a legitimate reason to own a gun unless you're part of a hunting club or something.
Right.
But in America, you can, literally in Florida, I think it is, they're talking about removing an open carry license. You don't need a license to just have a gun in your belt or on your hip when you go to the supermarket. Anybody. You can go in, get a gun, 3 days later, you can walk around the supermarket. And you can go to gun shows as a minor. You don't have to show identification. You can be under the age of 18 and just literally go buy a gun. Mm-hmm. So there's all that stuff, the fact that there's such easy access to guns. But I also think that the culture needs to change. I don't think that the gun violence issue is ever going to change until the cultural surrounding guns does as well. Guns have somehow been equated to freedom and Americanness and being an American,
right?
Because it's in our Constitution, but that Constitution was not written at a time when people could have access to something like an AR-15 that, an inexperienced person holding it can easily mow down dozens of people. And it's been done a bunch of times here in America. It's to the point where on a weekly basis, some notification will show up on my phone about a new shooting. And I just don't even react. I don't have any feelings about it anymore because it's such a quotidian everyday thing. It's really tragic, but I hate to say it, but it is what it is. There's really nothing I can do about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm 100% there with you. I'm okay with having guns as long as you do have a license and that you have gone and gotten the correct training on how to handle
Exactly.
that you have. Because I believe that they're going to get the guns, whether the guns are illegal or not illegal or legal, it doesn't really matter because they're going to find them. For us, we've got the black markets. I mean, they can pretty much get the guns anywhere they please. Laws mean nothing to them. So they can just get access. I don't know if it's that easy in America to get access to guns, legal or not legal, but if they're going to get guns, they're going to get guns. And in that case, as a single woman, I would prefer to at least learn how to handle the gun and get a license for that gun that I have gotten training for. So that's how I see it. But to avoid school shootings like this, goodness gracious. Yeah, I agree with you. This is deeper. This is much, much deeper, and there's a root to this that you've really got to give a good look at. And that's really how you're going to impact that. It's to dig it up and try and get to the root of the problem, which could be culture. I mean, it could be
yeah, and I think one of the other big problems, and this is the case not just with this issue, but with many, is that the loudest voices are sometimes the least informed. So,
yes,
the people who think the most about it, and who have probably the most progressive is another hot button word, but I'll change from saying progressive, but the most conducive to less violence in the future methods and views, those are the people who I think are less aggressive about pushing those feelings.
right.
Just because they're also the type of people who are less likely to want to go shoot a bunch of animals.
True.
Hey, I've been hunting, not knocking it, but it's not something I really enjoy.
Right. Everyone to their own. It's a safe place here. So, you are totally, your feelings are valid, your opinions are valid, and we respect you here. So, and whatever your feelings are, it's okay. And so let's pretty much end that topic off. I want to go straight into how we met. So Will actually recently joined my BNI networking group. So how has it been so far, Will? I mean, what has been a highlight for you?
I'm not an early riser, and these are early morning meetings. So I would say that's the toughest part for me has been adjusting my morning schedule, but it's good for me. So that's very good that I'm doing that. But more than anything, just meeting such a group of self-motivated, intelligent, hardworking people has been really eye-opening. Actually, my whole career, with a few short exceptions, I've worked for myself, run my own business, been completely dependent on, the money I bring in rather than being paid a paycheck or salary. And that's not what most of my friends or most of the people in my social circle are like. Most of them are in tech, which I have been at some point, but it's not my primary background. Tech, legal, finance, jobs where you get a paycheck, traditional kind of payment structure, and you're not necessarily running your own business. So I don't interact with a lot of people who do that like me. And being able to interact with a group of people who run their own businesses, who rely on themselves for their income and for building their own career, like I said, very eye-opening, and great to be able to share some things that work and some things that are difficult for all of us, because there's a lot of common ground.
Right.
How did you get involved in BNI again in California, all the way over from South Africa? It's pretty awesome.
So, one thing that we all learned from the pandemic is our little country that we live in is not the alpha and omega. So the world is big, the world is wide, and you don't have to stick to your country when it comes to owning your own business. And technology helps you do that. And we should take advantage of that. And since the pandemic, people have started working from home, people work virtually a lot more. So I took advantage of that when I was retrenched from the aviation industry, and I decided to take bookkeeping and make it my business. And I didn't think I needed to form the business in South Africa. I thought, well, if I could take one of the places that I'd love to actually live is America, and I didn't know what state to form my LLC in, so I was looking around, and someone mentioned BNI because of the fact that they're doing virtual permanently online meetings, and that would suit me. So I started looking for groups that were permanently online, and high performance referrals was one of the very few that I went to. And the first time I went to visit them, I absolutely loved the people there. I was drawn to the few people that were there. And so that kind of answered my question in the sense of where I was going to form my LLC. It would be rather around my networking group who were spreading the word around about me and my business. So I did exactly that, and it's been going since, and I've been loving it. So yeah.
That's awesome. I'd love to have you move out here to California. It's
I know.
definitely a great place.
I'm planning, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, I've got to do my business trips to San Fran a lot more, but then I've got to go to Spain, and I've got to go. So I've got list of things.
Choose those places over San Francisco. That's one place you can skip in California. I lived there, and I would not recommend it.
Well, I must be honest, I'm actually looking forward to coming to visit you guys again. And I actually feel so bad. We're having a social coming up at the end of April. And I really do. I'm jealous. I feel like I'm missing out.
Well, let me be clear. When I say skip San Francisco, I don't mean skip visiting us. I'm glad you're visiting us. It's just the allure of the city itself is not as much, I think, as the beautiful areas outside of it.
Got it. No, absolutely. So yeah, so for those that are listening, if you do have a business and you're running it in the Bay Area and are looking for a networking group, I do recommend you become a part of a networking group. It doesn't necessarily have to be ours, but we are permanently online, so that means you don't have to leave the house. We meet every Tuesday at 7 a.m. on Zoom. If you want to come and visit us and see if we might fit your bill of what you're looking for when it comes to networking groups, please go ahead. I will put the website that you can go register yourself on, or you can just email me at shireensbookkeeping.com and I can help you register yourself. So yeah, BNI has been great. It's been super beneficial. And welcome. I'm so glad to have you part of the group, though. We are growing slowly but surely, and each new addition to our group, it has been amazing so far. So I'm looking forward to seeing where we go with our little group. So on saying that, I do have a couple of quotes for us. Not just one. I normally only have one quote, but I think this week, just discussing the school shooting and everything that's been going on, I got stuck on these two quotes. So the first one is, an eye for an eye will only make the whole world blind. That's from Mahatma. Oh, and gosh, I'm probably going to ruin this name, but Mahatma Ghandi. I get it wrong.
Did better than I could.
So an eye for an eye will only make the whole world blind. And the second one is, there is no revenge as complete as forgiveness. And that's from Josh Billings. So what would you choose, revenge or forgiveness? Not forgiving is like drinking rat poison and waiting for the rat to die.
I've never been I've never been one much for vengeance, though, I've read The Count of Monte Cristo. It's one of my favorite books where he has a fantastic revenge unfolding over decades against people who got him into prison and made him not marry his love. So, great revenge story, very few things as good as that. But actually doing it yourself, I feel like having not done it, it seems like it would be something that takes a lot of energy and a lot of negative feelings. So
right.
I think the best form of revenge is just living well, even if you can't forgive someone. And a lot of people talk about the virtues of forgiveness, but not everybody deserves forgiveness. And in those cases, and even in the cases where you do forgive, the best revenge is just doing best by yourself and living well.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, with everything that's going on, I completely understand, especially the parents of those deceased children that were shot and killed. I'm sure they've got big choices to make ahead of them. And forgiveness is not for the other person. The forgiveness is for yourself. It's to break free from that bitterness, from that anger. And so I can only imagine what those parents are going through, or just the loved ones that are left behind from that school shooting. So bringing it back to business, I think revenge and forgiveness can come inside owning your own business and inside your own life, and in certain scenarios that might be presented to you, where you get to choose. You can either take revenge of the person, or you can just forgive them, let go, and continue growing your business and building your empire, whatever the case may be. So back to you, Will. I just want you to tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from.
So I grew up right outside San Francisco, just north of the Golden Gate Bridge. So on the not San Francisco side of the Golden Gate Bridge. I feel incredibly privileged to have been born here and to grow up here. And all the places that I've been in the world, this is the one that I always see myself continuing to come back to. But about me, see, I love nature. Growing up out here is a big part of that. And I think another big part of why I'm in solar is because of the fact that I love nature.
Yeah.
The Bay Area is one of the powerhouses for clean energy, or not clean energy, but I guess climate technology and the idea of word progress. And so being around that and having friends who work in climate tech and working on climate policy definitely influenced my decision to be part of that as well. And my career has been, for the last 10 years or so, commercial real estate. So selling office buildings, apartment buildings in San Francisco,
Wow.
helping business owners and companies lease office space. And while that's a very interesting industry and I learned a lot, I'd consider my time the equivalent of maybe half a PhD in commercial real estate. I didn't really feel like I was making the world better for anyone. Selling apartment buildings in San Francisco, especially where there are so many ways to take advantage of tenants. And in order to even make a profit, you have to take advantage of the tenants in any way you can. In a lot of cases, it's just not a great feeling to be involved in some of those cases where a landlord's like, all right, how can I make more money off of this person's apartment that they're renting? When that person is just struggling to get by as is. So that didn't really feel right to me. Selling office buildings, nothing wrong with that as far as I'm concerned, or apartment buildings for that matter. Fantastic investments, but my heart wasn't in it at the end of the day. And this is something that I can see my heart in. I'm helping people save money because right now in California, if you install solar panels, you're going to be saving a significant amount of money from the utility provider, but also helping the world be a little bit less reliant on fossil fuels and forms of energy that are detrimental to the environment.
Right, right. Totally with you. And that's quite interesting in the sense of why you actually do solar, and it makes sense. The nature lovers, of course, we want to go off the grid. We want to do solar power. We want to do the JoJo. We want to save water wherever we can. You know, it's just, yeah, we do have such a respect for nature and for conserving it. And also, I think that's where the world is going, to be completely honest. You don't have to be a nature lover to see that. Growing your own vegetables, I feel like that's where we're heading. Yeah, it's just, things are chaos. The world is interesting at this point.
And it's really easy to grow vegetables and it feels good. So, and it's cheaper. So
Exactly.
growing vegetables is moving away from chaos, I think.
I think so. I think so. And then, in fact, talk about growing vegetables. We just had a couple of beautiful cucumbers, so we're quite excited.
Oh, wow. Awesome. I cannot believe that it took me this long to realize this, but like 2 years ago, and I'm 31 now, so I was in my late 20s was when I realized that pickles were just cucumbers that have been pickled. Right. So I don't know if you're going to pickle any of those, but pretty exciting if you are.
That's the plan. Oh my gosh, yes, 100%. I love pickles. We call them gherkins in South Africa.
Oh.
Yes. So
I think the gherkins is like, a gherkin is a smaller type of pickle category, at least. If you're referring to a gherkin out here, it's like a small pickle.
Really? Because
And
I
then,
have some quite a large, we got different sized gherkins. So we get the small ones, you're right. But we do get the little bigger ones that are about that big.
maybe I need to re-up my pickle knowledge. But what I do know for sure is that the tiniest pickles are called cornichons.
Right. Well, I love pickles. I really do. And we got so excited about this simply just because of the reason why we have vervet monkeys. The monkeys are a very big problem here. So if you are trying to grow your own vegetables, your own plants or whatever, it's really hard here where I live because the monkeys just come and graze it all. Just eat it all. They don't even leave you one. Sometimes don't even eat them. They like pull them off and then throw it on the ground. We get so frustrated. We like, can't you share?
Oh my gosh. Can you train one of these monkeys to fight off the other monkeys? There's got to be a way. Like maybe you feed one monkey and you're like, all right, I'll keep giving you food. Just make sure these guys don't come around.
No, I wish it was that easy. They're getting too confident and way too aggressive. So we need to be watching out because, you don't want to be bitten by these animals either. They can be extremely aggressive.
So if you make them angry by trying to get them away or something, they might attack you?
Pretty much. So you really got to be careful that you don't pick one on its bad day. And I mean, just the other day, I was trying to protect our cucumber, which was growing nicely overnight. And so I'm in an RN whether to move the planter's box because it was inside the planter's box and save it and rescue it and bring it inside before the monkeys got it. And one of the females showed the white part of her eye, which is a threatening pose, and chased me back inside my house saying, listen, we're here, close the door, get back in your house. This is our territory for now.
Oh my God. Have you ever tried pepper spraying them?
Oh my gosh, I have never tried to pepper spray them.
I feel like that would work.
You might be right. You might be right. Oh my gosh. I might actually think about doing that. I'm desperate.
I don't know if that's animal cruelty, but it sounds like they're being pretty mean too. So I think all is fair in love and war, especially with monkeys.
exactly. I mean, I love animals, but man, leave my vegetables alone, dude. Okay.
Citronella spray also. If pepper spray is too much, I use this with dogs. Like I'll take my dogs walking and people are just crazy out here. None of them have their dogs on leashes and like dogs will often attack other dogs. And so I carry around citronella spray. It looks like mace, but it's just like extra strong citrus smell.
No way.
Very strong for
Yeah, we get
dogs.
citronella. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. And so if someone has their dog off leash, I'll be like, hey, did you get your dog? And oftentimes I'll be like, oh, no, he's fine. He's nice. Don't worry about it. I'm like, all right, well, I will spray your dog if they come here. And people are like, oh my God, you monster. I'm like, it's not mace, it's citronella. But I don't tell them that. And that makes them much more motivated to put their dogs on a leash.
Love that story. It's so sneaky, but I love it.
Like, I'll spray you too, man. Watch out.
You see, I'm getting a couple of good ideas from you. Man. Okay, enough about me. So, if I can ask you, in your career, have you ever been unfairly treated? And what did you do? Did you take revenge, or what did that look like for you, the scenario?
In commercial real estate, which is what I started my career in right after leaving university, there isn't a academic track really to get into the business.
Right.
And when I say that, I mean, if you're getting into investment banking, you might start off as an analyst for a couple of years, then go to business school. And then while you're in business school, you'll meet some people, make some connections, probably have internships at investment banks, and eventually go work in an investment bank. And while investment bankers often are independent in and of themselves or work within a group of other iBankers, having that academic background is super helpful. What I did was just basically being a real estate agent, but for really, really big buildings. And the track to get into that, kind of the general accepted way is to become a junior on somebody's team. So these brokerage teams are run by individuals or by partners who then have people working below them as analysts, as junior agents. And the idea is to start off as an analyst or a junior agent and work on the deals of these other more established people. And hopefully your senior agent or the person you're working with will be generous and they'll bring you on to deals and they'll give you a portion of the deals that you work on. And that's what you expect. That's not always the reality. Sometimes you end up getting that really low salary that you expected, but we're hoping would be offset by deals that whoever you're working with says that they would share with you. But that's not always the reality. That's just something that you have to expect, I think. So it's cultural in that industry to use your lower level employees for kind of all they're worth. And there's not a whole lot that those people can do if you're not giving them what they expect. And when I say what they expect, I mean portion of the deals that they're working on.
Right.
Or introducing them to clients and stuff like that.
Okay.
So that happened to me, but I ended up fine. I ended up doing a bunch of deals myself, having damn deal time in the business. So I think I expected to be treated unfairly, and I think a lot of people expect it early on in their careers, and I just kind of take it in stride and learn what you can from it. And I learned some very, very expensive lessons where I trusted people that maybe I shouldn't have. And there's a couple of deals that I look back on and still really annoy me. Last 2 years ago, I'm still doing real estate deals, even though I'm in solar. But 2 years ago, this guy agreed to pay me a commission on a handshake, which is usually a big no-no, but I trusted this guy. I liked him. And I know plenty of old school brokers who are making millions of dollars a year who have handshake deals with their clients.
Right.
So I was like, all right, this time I'll let it slide. I won't require it to be in writing. I trust you. Let's just move forward with it. And I did the deal, all the work, and did not get paid the $65,000 commission. And that, like, in the grand scheme of things, that's not the end of the world. It's a lot of money. Could have made a big difference in my life at the time, but just had to keep on keeping on and focus on the next deal.
Sure. Sure. That's tough to take things like that in your own stride and not to react.
Oh, I reacted, but
Oh,
they
did
didn't
you?
see me react. No, I mean, it was one of those, like, close my computer, type of things. I wouldn't want to show a bad reaction even to a complete jerk, because that just shows that they've gotten the better of you.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's
Which
100%.
they did get the better of me, but I was not going to let them see that.
That's good. Yeah. No, I like that. If you need to scream, close the door, do whatever you have to behind closed doors, but then kill them with kindness afterwards. It's not very
Or
easy.
just never work with them again, and be sure to let anyone who asks about them know what happened.
Or you could do that. Yeah, no, definitely. So what has been your biggest challenge so far with your job?
Probably myself, just staying organized, being efficient. I took a week off this week because the last couple of months have just been absolutely insane for me work-wise. And like, I've been looking into hiring a couple of people
Nice.
and changing my systems a little bit to make them more efficient, just because I have learned that I am not the most efficient when it comes to planning my day around meetings, around putting together proposals, around business development.
No.
It's just kind of a lot for someone who has a lot going on in their brain to make happen in an orderly fashion. So I do my best, but I think my biggest struggle of organization is something I'm going to have to tackle by probably bringing on someone who's a bit more organized than I am to smooth things out.
Yeah, to complement you and just help you in the areas that you're weak. Yeah, definitely.
And to that point, I've been doing taxes, and my God, I think this year is going to be the year that I hire you, Shireen, because I need some help.
Horrible, isn't it? I do not like to do my own taxes. Not, I'll give that to someone else. I worry about my clients. I'll help my clients in any way, shape, or form. And I will work very well with their CPAs and their tax preparers. But when it comes to my own personal tax, I don't have time for it.
Yeah, it's like a whole other job.
No,
why we hire someone for it.
Yes, 100%. You know where I am. So I'm glad you brought up that topic, that the fact that you had to take a week off. I always talk about this because this is necessary to talk about. Being a business owner, entrepreneur, when you start building your business, or when you start, building your clientele, you get busy. And as you say, if you're not organized in time management and set yourself small goals, you can be 110% swamped and just slowly but surely buried alive in the work that you're doing. And so it's so necessary to take the time to keep refilling your tank. That's what I always say. So what is it that you do to fill your tank so that you can keep your tank filled, and so that you stay happy, stay fulfilled, so that you can only give, the best of you to your clients? So what did you do on this week now that you took?
Well, before that, I'll just quickly say that about a year and a half ago, for the better part of a year, a little over a year, I was working at a tech company, a tech startup, really a lot of funding and venture capital backing, and had a very, startup culture where you got to do more, wear a bunch of different hats. That's what is often said, and pick up a lot of slack with the understanding that you're helping to build a company or whatever. And I didn't take a vacation for the whole year. Like, I didn't take more than a weekend off. And even most weekends I was working. And I just was so burnt out by the end of it that I just didn't feel like there's anything left of me at the end of the workday. I just kind of deflated into the couch and turned on the big TV when I was looking at the little TV all day. It's just not great. So I like to read. Reading really recharges me, kind of takes me out of my own world and out of my own head, and lets me be part of another one or another story. And to your point of gardening and plants and hiking, I go out, and I'm lucky enough, actually, I can show you real quick. I'll put you on mute, but I live in San Francisco, but my parents live in San Anselmo, which is just outside of San Francisco, like 30, 40 minutes.
Nice.
And they live on the edge of this beautiful nature area.
Oh, lovely.
And they have a pretty big chunk of property. So I'll go out hiking and I'll find native plants and flowers, and I'll collect them. I'll collect the seeds and I'll plant them. And this year I actually got my hands on a bunch of seeds for a very rare plant that only grows out here in Marin. So my cleaners are here. So I'm going to put you on mute so you don't have to hear the vacuum.
Yeah, sure. No, that's great. You can put me on mute in the meantime, just so for all the listeners. Will is taking us out. So if you want to see the video version, you can go see the video version on the YouTube channel, Friends from Wild Places. He's taking us out to his little area where he spends some of his time just refilling his tank. So yeah, go ahead, Will. All right. Oh my gosh, this place is beautiful. Okay, so we are looking at some beautiful scenery already. Just the forestry there is so beautiful. The trees are amazing. And this is in California. Some of the places I've stayed there is absolutely stunning. So yeah, beautiful place. You live there, Will. So I have to definitely come and visit again. But yeah, you've got to take those things just to refill your tank, those things that you absolutely love and enjoy. And so thank you, Will, for just sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah, that, and I also collect and grow orchids and tropical plants. So, big plant guy.
That is awesome. That is so cool that you grow your own orchids. That's amazing. Yeah, we love that kind of thing here. So just a final question. If there is something that has happened in your life that if you could redo, what would you do differently?
I would know that I'm allergic to mold much earlier. I have some genetic thing where I'm super allergic to mold. Like, black mold can literally kill me. And there have been probably 4 times in my life that I've been really, really, really sick because of mold. I had to leave my last house, throw away all my furniture, books, vinyl records because of mold. In the previous place, they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, and I actually got diagnosed with cancer until I was lucky enough to have someone who knew what was going on.
My gosh.
But before those 2 times, in university and a little bit just after university when I was living in New York City, I was incredibly sick, and it took away, years of progress of my life. And I didn't know what was wrong with me. It was just like one of those weird chronic illness things that you can't figure out. I'm sure you've had friends or heard of people who have like
Right.
chronic fatigue or something
Mhm.
like that. And it just really impacted my career and my mental health. And if I had known that I was allergic to mold, I think I would have looked at the signs and realized, oh, I'm living in a 200-year-old building in a climate where there's 5 feet of snow every winter that melts against the side of the building. There's almost certainly a bunch of mold here, and it's making you sick. So my solution now is living in brand new buildings, which is great for everything but the wallet. And yeah, if I had known that before, I think I would probably, I'm very happy with where I am in life right now, but
Right.
I'd be interested to know where I might be if I hadn't had to deal with that.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. Yeah, I thought black mold in general is bad for all human beings, but yeah, I didn't realize that you can actually get someone that's extremely allergic to it over and above black mold being a no-go in general. So that's quite interesting.
And not just black mold, but not any type of mold, but lots of types of mold are not good for me. And most people are not sensitive. My roommate at one of these places, when we found the mold, it was in his room and he was totally fine, but I was like throwing up every morning and I looked kind of green. So I was not fine. So most people are okay with it, but I'm just lucky enough to not be one of those people.
Oh goodness. Oh my gosh. Okay. So yeah, that's a good lesson to learn. Thank you so much, Will. Okay, so I
Yeah.
just want to chat a little bit more about Friends from Wild Places. So I'm sure everyone knows already, but Friends from Wild Places, we use Buzzsprout. The reason I started this podcast is to share stories like yourself, Will, from the other business owners and to bring support for young entrepreneurs all over the world. When business owners start out, we have such a fire in our hearts and excitement to start our own businesses. But when things get tough, I want us to know that we are not alone. I feature nonprofits every month to try and make a difference or give a helpline to someone in need. Do you have a message you want to share with the world? Or maybe you just think it'll be fun to have your own talk show. Podcasting is an easy, inexpensive, and fun way to expand your reach online. To start your own podcast and get a $20 Amazon gift card, follow the link in the show notes, and this lets Buzzsprout know that we sent you and help support our show. The team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed. If that's not the way you want to go, you can also support me as well by going to Friends from Wild Places podcast's website, where you can go and subscribe there and help me keep doing what I'm doing. So yeah, that'll be great. But we've come to the part of the show, Will, where we're going to play a little bit of a game. It's agree or disagree. So I'm going to make a statement, yeah, and you're going to tell me if you agree or disagree. And
Agree. Sorry. Did we start already?
Not yet. But yes, and then tell us a little bit why you agree or disagree. So here's the one. Swimming in the ocean is better than swimming in a public pool.
Can I say depends? I agree for the most part. You're not going to catch me swimming in Shanghai Bay, but out in the ocean in Hawaii or off the coast of California, that's probably fun.
Right. What's wrong with Shanghai?
Pool,
What's happening there? Was it dangerous?
The Bay, you know what? Maybe this is just me not knowing what I'm talking about, but pretty sure the Bay there is very dirty. Beijing Bay, how about that? Beijing doesn't even have a bay.
Oh, right.
Let's just forget about bays. I think that some ocean is dirty and some is clean. I like the clean parts.
You could have picked any reason for an ocean.
I know.
Chose dirty. I mean,
I could have
I've got to be honest.
done a better job describing my criteria.
Pools can be dirtier than seas, I feel. A pool,
True.
if it's not cleaned, I mean, people urinate in their own pools. Come on.
Yeah, but the chlorine kills it. I don't like it. I don't like it more than anyone else, but I've swam and played water polo for 7 years. So I think that there's a level of self trickery going on where I just don't want to think about that part of pools.
Right. Listen, I mean, it's public pools.
Yeah,
You
they're
don't
gross.
know how much they are cleaning those pools. And so how many bodies are going in those pools? But besides that, I love the sea. I love the ocean. As an animal lover, one of the most beautiful places to be is under the sea. So for me, I'm definitely going to be in the sea. But I just thought that was funny that out of all the things that you could have said about Shanghai seas, a shark, maybe a giant squid, maybe. No, it's dirty.
Hey, I think that getting into the water and just being a bunch of muck and trash that's almost scarier to me, just because I'm kind of a clean freak than the idea of being eaten by a shark.
Right.
At least if I was eaten by a shark, I wouldn't be in the mess anymore.
Yeah, listen, I mean, sharks don't go out their way to chow you, I promise.
I hope so.
You're gonna have disturbed them in some way, shape, or form to have them react and chomp your leg off, I feel. And even so, you're in their territory. You risked it in the first place. So if
True.
you're gonna go and surf,
Hey, and the beaches where I grew up, there are big signs saying "Beware of shark," and I've seen great whites, or I don't know if they call them men in gray suits out there. That's the Australian. Never mind. Yeah, Australians call them men
don't
in
say
gray
that.
suits. But those things they'll bite you just to be like, huh, I wonder if this thing's tasty. And great whites, their test bites usually don't end so well for whoever they're tasting.
That's
So
true.
I'm scared. I am scared of sharks, but I don't like dirty seas even more than I am scared of sharks. So that's how I feel about that.
That's totally fine. We respect you. We love you. We think you're amazing. And that's okay. Everyone to their own, man. I just thought it was quite funny and amusing. Okay, so let's do one more. Let's hit it. What about this one? Summer is the best season of the year.
Disagree, big
Mm-hmm.
time.
Yeah.
I don't have it nearly as bad as you do, but it's just too hot.
Don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, look at my skin. I'm not built for a lot of sun. I'm built for shady forests and lots of sunscreen.
Right. For the listeners, you've got two very pale people here. Listen, I enjoy being outdoors. I'm not saying that I don't enjoy being outdoors. I absolutely love being outdoors. But when you get to really, really hot summers and add humidity on top of it, we can get well into 40 degrees Celsius. I don't know how much that is in Fahrenheit, but
That's over 100, which is a lot.
right. And I've just moved. So I was on the other side of KwaZulu-Natal and they went above 40 nearly almost every day of the week when it came to Belito. So it gets
That's
hot.
like, yeah, 40C is like the worst temperature that we'll experience here in a summer. If it hits 40C, which it did a couple of summers ago, people are concerned and there are fires starting.
Yes, the Californian fires. Yeah, it's crazy. If you add humidity, the stickiness, it's so uncomfortable. And for those people that do love going outside and doing outdoors, that becomes difficult because no amount of 50 sunblock is going to make that enjoyable.
Yeah, no, it's not. And just a quick aside, with all those fires in California, one of the reasons that electricity is so expensive for Californians is because PG&E, who is the electrical company who is at fault for a lot of these fires because their equipment sometimes more than 100 years old, literally just breaks and like falls into the grass. They are being sued for billions of dollars, and they have to pay that amount. But it's actually the utility payers, people who are buying electricity from them, who are paying that amount. So all of those lawsuits are getting folded into our bills. And on top of that, there's about 10,000 miles of power line that needs to be brought underground in California. PG&E is doing that. Costs $1 million a mile. So I think that off the top of my head, what is that, like 10 billion, maybe even more than that? But it's a lot of money, and we have to pay it.
That's insane. That's absolutely insane. Okay, yo. Yeah, no, it's power, electricity, and rather going solar is just, yeah. There's no question about it.
$10 billion. That's a lot of money.
That is insane. Yeah. So if we have to name a season, I would prefer winter. I love winter. I get, I enjoy fires. I enjoy comfy cozies, slippers. I love the outdoors. It's great doing backpacking in cooler weather. I'm not talking about snow.
Yeah.
That's something completely different, but also enjoyable.
Yeah, I feel similarly about snow as I do to hot temperatures. I think I'm like you. I prefer the middle ground.
Right. Like, I absolutely adore the snow. As long as I can, stay safe and not get frozen over or hit by an avalanche or something. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm being such a drama queen. Okay. Anyway, so that's it. I really loved having you part of the show today, Will. So for the listeners, if they really connected with your story, Will, mention a couple of the places they can reach out to you and find you and maybe ask you a few other questions if they'd like to.
Well, actually, I'm building my website right now, so I don't really have a website to go to.
You've got a LinkedIn page, don't you?
I do have a LinkedIn, and I'll share that with you.
Nice. LinkedIn, Will Hinshaw, right? Is it William Hinshaw or is it Will Hinshaw on your LinkedIn?
Oh, gosh.
It doesn't matter because I'm going to have it in the show notes. So if you are listening, I will put all the information that Will gives me for you to contact him in there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just William Hinshaw. Thank you.
Awesome.
I'll send it to you now.
That's fantastic. So for me, you can find the website Friends from Wild Places. Again, that's where you can subscribe. But you can also find me on the YouTube for the video version, Friends from Wild Places. I'm also on LinkedIn. You can find me anywhere else. Please like, comment, and subscribe. If you're listening on iTunes, there is a way to leave a review. Let me know what you think. Tell me you hate it. Tell me you love it. Tell me anything at all. It's all constructive criticism, and I will take anything. So thank you so much for listening, everybody. And we'll see you next time. And remember, you got this, and stay wild. Bye, guys.
Thanks so much for having me. Bye, Shireen.
You've been listening to Friends from Wild Places with Shireen Buerta. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast from the links to catch every episode and unleash your passion.